If you have ADHD, I'm sure we've all asked ourselves this question at some point in our lives. Is there something wrong with me? And wondering where you would be if you just didn't have this mental barrier stopping you from moving forwards. And also wondering why it's taking you so long to do the simplest of chores like laundry, doing the dishes. And also forgetting things all the time, which I'm sure we all do. This is when ADHD started to turn my life around. Here are 7 examples of how ADHD turned my life around. Hi ADHDers, I'm Rachel and I'm going to be talking about how ADHD turned my life around, which has been a complete whirlwind. I was diagnosed with ADHD combined type in my mid-20s. And here I am, 31. I'll be taking you through what made me realize I could have ADHD in the first place, how I navigated getting an ADHD diagnosis, navigating life adulting with ADHD, and also the things I learned about myself. Shall we begin? If you have ADHD, I'm sure we've all asked ourselves this question at some point in our lives. Is there something wrong with me? And also wondering why it takes you a couple of weeks to complete homework when it takes other people just a few days. Wondering why you run into ADHD tax for fines, late payments, and dental issues that have escalated because you procrastinated. Or how about comparing your lack of progress to other people and wondering where you would be if you just didn't have the mental barrier stopping you from moving forward. So I'm sure you've all wondered these things at some point. Is this sounding all familiar to you? I thought so. So how did ADHD turn my life around? There is nothing more frustrating than knowing and thinking that something is wrong, but not knowing what it is, right? Or not being able to put your finger on it, searching Google, not getting the answers, and you thinking, is this all in my head? Is this me? Surely this isn't normal or typical, should we say. But this is it. This is when things changed, when I started to feel like I was losing control of my life. Bad decisions, chronic procrastination, non-existent financial management, and depleting self-care, impulsiveness to a fault, and so on. There were so many things going on where I started to think, okay, I need to get this checked out. 2 years later, I came across a documentary and thought, aha, I'm thinking it could be ADHD. Could this be what I've been missing for so long? See my GP, it took me about 1 year and 6 months, and also 2 psychiatrists to officially be diagnosed with ADHD combined type. And then I also started ADHD medication. And this is when things start. I felt like I was starting a new life, clear-headed. I can finally work on the things that I've been struggling with. I can finally get support. It's not just in my head. This is when ADHD started to turn my life around. If I didn't get formally diagnosed with ADHD, my life would be upside down. And I can 100% say this because I was left with no answers, right? Thinking I'm just a mess up, or maybe I'm just being lazy, or maybe I need to try hard enough, or maybe this is just how things are going to be. I did not realize that I had a neurodevelopmental condition. That's the first example of how ADHD turned my life around. Being formally diagnosed with ADHD enabled me to identify certain behaviors, mishaps, pinpoint the source of my issues to ADHD symptoms. Here are 7 examples of how ADHD turned my life around. Number 1, I was able to improve my credit score and develop healthy financial habits. So when I was undiagnosed with ADHD, I was not paying my credit card bills on time, didn't really look at the interest return rate, I didn't have direct debit setups. It was really bad. When I got diagnosed and I was able to take medication, it really focused and stimulated my mind to get organized and sort out my finances. Number 2, I eventually booked an appointment with my dentist after years of pain and self-soothing, and lo and behold, I needed to get 3 root canals, which cost me. I had to put myself on a payment plan because I needed to see a specialist in order to save my tooth, and that was all down to chronic procrastination, like really, really bad procrastination. Whereas being diagnosed with ADHD, having medication, having all of these coping strategies to motivate me to just pick up the phone and call, saved me from, could have been even a longer term consequences if I didn't get these bad boys sorted out. Number 3, my communication with my family and friends improved, very dependable. I honestly didn't realize how flaky I was when I was undiagnosed, whereas learning and understanding, okay, people with ADHD tend to exhibit some of these symptoms, I have really just improved on being dependable, trying to be a person of my word, trying to make every attempt to show up to things on time. That has been like really good for my relationships. Number 4, and I think this is the most important one, my mental health really improved because I stopped looking at myself as a failure, comparing myself with where other people were in life. I understood that I had a neurodevelopmental condition and that I needed to work with my ADHD brain and not against it, and I wasn't just this mess up. Number 5, this is something that's really dear and near to my heart. So since being diagnosed 5 years ago, I've been an ADHD advocate online, on socials, been speaking to companies. I made the ADHD flashcards, which people have gone through with their parents, their significant others, their friends, and just explaining to them that having a neurodevelopmental condition doesn't mean your child is broken. It means they think differently, they may do things differently, and that they're not lazy, naughty kids, that they need to be given the grace, time and support from people around them. So not just being able to help myself out in this journey, but many other people, especially adults with ADHD, where there wasn't that much support. When I first started, the process back in 2018. Number 6, motivation, super motivated. And number 7, just being a bit more clearer-headed and being kind to myself and being kind to others. So these are the many reasons on how ADHD turned my life around. Of course, it's not a walk in the park. Every other day is different, but just being aware and knowing that I have this neurodevelopmental condition, knowing that I don't have to guilt myself and think about myself as a mess up, but then also being able to advocate for other people that I do know and other people that I don't know who do have ADHD and who are neurodivergent. And so to everyone who is diagnosed or think they may have ADHD, I'm a very big believer in people giving other people grace and also not expecting everyone to do things in a neurotypical way, and that people should be open to the fact that there are different ways of doing things. The saying, there are different ways to skin a cat, and people shouldn't be penalized for that. If you know my story, I initially thought I had early onset dementia, did a quick memory test at my GP, ruled out early onset dementia. 2 years later, thought, it must be ADHD. Could this be what I've been missing for so long? It took me about 1 year and 6 months and also 2 psychiatrists to officially be diagnosed with ADHD combined type, and then I also started ADHD medication. The part of my life when I was undiagnosed, ADHD kind of turned my life upside down, but ADHD turned my life around. And so for those of you watching, you're amazing. Work with your ADHD brain, not against it. We are not broken, and some days aren't going to be great. Some days are going to be a struggle, but just know that there is a community of people out there, even if it's not in person, online, on social media, which is where I got my initial community on Twitter, who will be there on hand to answer any questions you might have. So do reach out to me. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. You can find me as Adulting ADHD across all socials. Thanks for watching and listening to how ADHD turned my life around, and I hope it does turn your life around too.